Hey there, Mustangs. We're back with day 2 of notes of Unit 4, Objective 4. Again, we're talking about parts of quadratics here, and hopefully we have a good start from our last time, where we're going to be talking about the vertex, the max, the min, axis of symmetry, the x-intercepts, the y-intercepts, and how to actually create a table and graph. So let's get going. All right, this is going to be page 5 of the notes. So on page 5 here, you'll see that it says Unit 4, Objective 4, Notes Day 2. We're looking at the picture. And again, what we're talking about are the parts. So the first part that we're looking at is the vertex. The vertex, if we remember, is when we look at a curve, you've got like a bottom of a curve, which is the point all the way in the bottom, also known as a minimum. And then we've got a top of the curve, which is known as a maximum. Okay, that point, though, we actually call a vertex, whether it's a max or a min, right? So looking at our curve, we can see down here we've got a point. That point is our vertex, and that vertex happens at 2 to the right and then negative 8. So to get there, again, you go 2 to the right and then down 8. Okay. That point, since it's at the bottom of our curve, we call that a minimum. Okay, the actual way to write it out is minimum. Minimum. All right, the axis of symmetry, if you can imagine, is that vertical line again that goes straight through the middle of my curve where everything is the same on the right as it is on the left. Okay, we can see that symmetry going on there. And so that equation is a vertical line, which means the equation is going to be x is equal to, and they have to match up. Remember, the axis of symmetry and the vertex line up with one another. And so if we look at the x value of that vertex, we can see that that point right there has an x value of 2. So that means that our axis of symmetry is going to be x is equal to 2. Okay, and that's going to generate that red line that goes down the middle here, our vertex, and that's our axis of symmetry as x is equal to 2. Okay, let's continue on here. Our x-intercepts are those points where my graph hits the x-axis. That's why it's called an x-intercept. And so my x-axis is this line right here. And if we look at our curve where it runs into it, we can see it runs into it right at this spot here and right at this spot right here. The point that's on the left side there is a coordinate. It's at negative 2, 0. So this is at negative 2, 0 for that point. And then this point that's over here is going to be at positive 6, 0. So those are your two coordinates. You got the one that's on the left and the one that's on the right. So your left one is your negative 2, 0, and the one that's on the right is at 6, 0. The y-intercept is the coordinate where my graph runs into the y-axis. So when we look at our y-axis, it's this axis that goes up and down, and we can see that it runs into my y-axis right at this point right here. That point right there where they run into each other is a coordinate of 0, and then it's negative 6. So this is my y-intercept. Okay. All right, so that's all for the first graph. Now let's apply this, and let's do this a little bit quicker on the second graph. Okay. Looking at number 2 here. Okay. The vertex is this point that's all the way on the top here. So that point right there, when we look at it, is over here at 4 and then 9. 4 over and then 9 up. So it's going to be 4, 9. Since it's at the top of the curve, it is a maximum. Okay, so this is a max at that spot. The axis of symmetry, remember, has to match up with my x value of my vertex, so that x is equal to 4 should match up. X is equal to 4. My x-intercepts are the 2 points where it hits the x-axis, so there's the left one, there is the right one. Our first one is at negative 2, 0, and the second one that's on the right there is at 10, 0. Okay, so that's going to be at negative 2, 0, and then 10, 0. And then the y-intercept is where we hit the y-axis. And again, that happens, here's my y-axis, here's the coordinate where it runs in. This is going to be at a 0, positive 5. Okay? So now let's move into where we don't have a picture. Now we're going to pull that information out of the equation, and this is where we're going to use our formulas a little bit. Okay? For number 3, you have to again determine what's the a, b, and c value from the quadratic. Your a value is the coefficient attached to your x squared, so that's a negative 2. Your b value is the coefficient attached to the x, which is just positive 8. Okay, pay attention to your signs, it's positive 8. And then your C value is a positive 3. So if we remember, the formula for the axis of symmetry is x is equal to the opposite of our b value divided by 2 times a. So in this case, my b value is an 8. So the opposite of a positive 8 is to write a negative 8. Again, my b value is a positive 8. The opposite of that is a negative 8. Okay? And then we're going to say 2 times a. Well, my a value is negative 2. Okay, let's throw that in our calculator. We're going to get that the vertex for this is x is equal to positive 2. That's our axis of symmetry. Not the vertex, that's the vertex. Sorry, it's axis of symmetry. To find the vertex now, remember, we take our x value, and the x value for axis of symmetry should be the same value as the x value for our vertex. We know there's going to be a 2 in that first spot because they should be exactly the same. Now to find my y value, we take that and we plug it into our original function. So we're going to have y is equal to negative 2 times 2 squared plus 8 times 2 plus 3. And again, all we did there was we took our x value and we plugged it in for the x that's right here and for the x that's right here. Okay, and in place of those, we put a 2 for both of those. All right. Go through and plug that into our calculator and simplify. We end up getting a vertex of positive 11. Y is equal to 11. Okay. Let's do it again. Number 4. Feel free to pause it and try it on your own and then hit play just so you can see if you did it right. Okay. That we get a is equal to 3. That's that value right there. B is equal to 18. C is equal to negative 5. Axis of symmetry is x equals opposite of b over 2 times a. Well, my b value is 18, so the opposite of positive 18 is to do a negative 18. And then we're going to go 2 times my a value, which is 2 times 3, which means my axis of symmetry is going to equal to negative 3. Now, again, now that my vertex has to have the same x value, we know that that negative 3 is going to match up with my vertex from my axis of symmetry. We're going to go ahead now to find the y value. We're going to go ahead and take this x value and we're going to put it in for the x here and for the x here. So that's going to be y is equal to 3 times negative 3 squared plus 18 times negative 3 minus 5. Put that into our calculators to check the math on that, and we're going to get a big number. It's a negative 32. Might throw some of you off because we get such a big number, but it is what it is. Okay, so it's a negative 32. Feel free to go back and watch any part of this. Make sure you understand it. But that's it on this video. See you in a few minutes when we go to the next video.